Once upon a time, in the heart of the vast jungle, there was a kingdom known as Opulu. It was a place of lush green trees, flowing rivers, and animals of all kinds. The ruler of this kingdom was a wise and wealthy king named King Onowu. He was not just rich in gold and jewelries, but also in kindness and wisdom. The animals of Upulu respected him deeply because he ruled with fairness and always had the best interests of his kingdom at heart. Among King Oluwu's many treasures was a magical drum known as the King's Drum. This drum was no ordinary instrument. It was said to have been crafted by the gods themselves. When played under certain conditions, the drum could produce an abundance of food and wealth. However, this power came with a strict rule. It could only be used by someone with a pure heart, selfless intentions, and the humility to recognize the drum's true value. The drum was bound by a powerful juju, a mystical force that ensured its powers were only used wisely. In the same kingdom lived a tortoise named Obu, known far and wide for his cunning and greed. Unlike the other animals who respected the king and lived in harmony, Obu always wanted more. He wasn't satisfied with the simple joys of life in the jungle. He envied those who had more than he did, and was always looking for ways to get rich quickly, no matter the cost. One day, while wandering near the king's palace, Obu overheard some animals talking about the king's drum and its magical powers. His eyes gleamed with desire. If only I can have this drum, I'll be the richest and most powerful creature in all of Opulu. I wouldn't have to work or worry about food ever again. Obu's mind began to race with ideas. How could he get his hands on the king's drum? He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to succeed, no matter what. Obu spent many days and nights plotting his scheme. He knew that King Oluo was too wise to be easily tricked, so he decided to target the king's wife, Queen Uduak. Queen Uduak was known for her kindness and generosity, but Obu saw these qualities as weakness he could exploit. One sunny afternoon, Obu waited in the bushes near the palace, watching as Queen Uduak took her daily walk. As she passed by a large tree, Obu suddenly leaped out and pretended to be injured. "Oh, dear Queen Uduak, please help me," he cried out, holding his leg as if he were in great pain. Queen Uduak, being the kind-hearted soul she was, immediately rushed to his side. "Oh, poor Obu. What happened?" she asked with concern. "It's my leg, Your Highness," Obu groaned. "I was walking through the jungle when I stepped on a sharp thorn. I'm in so much pain I can't move, my queen." The queen, filled with pity, helped Obu to his feet and offered to take him back to the palace to tend to his wounds. Obu smiled inwardly, knowing that his plan was working perfectly. Once they arrived at the palace, Queen Uduak called for the royal healer to attend to Obu's leg. The healer quickly realized that Obu was faking his injury, but Obu was clever. He had come up with a story about how he had been on his way to deliver a special gift to the queen when the accident happened. He told her it was a rare and precious fruit that could only be found deep in the jungle, a fruit that would bring happiness and prosperity to anyone who ate it. Queen Uduak was touched by Obu's supposed generosity and insisted that he stays in the palace until he is fully healed. Obu pretended to be reluctant, but eventually agreed all the while. Over the next few days, Obu got so close to the queen, telling her stories, sharing meals, and making himself seem like a harmless, friendly creature. The queen, unaware of his true nature, began to trust him. Finally, the day came when Obu decided to spring his plan. He approached the queen Uduak with a sad expression on his face. "Your Highness, there is something I must confess," he said. "What is it, Obu?" the queen asked with concern. I have failed you, Obu said, bowing his head. The fruit I promised to bring you was stolen from me by a group of mischievous monkeys. Queen Udwak, being the kind soul she was, reassured Obu that it was not his fault. Do not worry, Obu. You have done more than enough by simply being here and sharing your company with me, she said. But Obu wasn't satisfied with just forgiveness. He knew that to get the king's drum, he needed something more. Your Highness, he said, there is one thing that could make up for my failure. I have heard of a drum in the king's possession, a drum that can bring prosperity to the entire kingdom. If you could ask the king to let me have it, I could use it to help the poor and needy in the jungle. Queen Udwak was moved by Obu's words. She didn't realize that he was only pretending to care about others and that his true intentions was to keep the drum's wealth for himself. That evening, she spoke to the King Olowo. King Olowo was a wise and perceptive ruler. He had seen many creatures come and go, and he knew that all who appeared kind and generous were truly not so. When Queen Udwak told him about Obu's request, he immediately became suspicious. My dear, King Olowo said gently, I understand your desire to help Obu, but I fear that his intentions may not be as pure as they seem. The drum is a powerful object, and it is not something to be given lightly. But Queen Udwak's trust in Obu's supposed kindness pleaded with the king. Please, my husband, she said, let us give him a chance. If he can use the drum to help others, then it will be a good deed for the kingdom. King Olowo thought for a long time before finally agreeing. Very well, he said, but I must warn Obu that the drum is bound by a powerful juju. It will only produce wealth and food if the person playing it has a pure heart and selfless intentions. If the juju is broken, the drum will bring nothing but misfortune. With that, the king summoned Obu to his palace and explained the conditions of the drum. Obu, blinded by his greed, barely listened. All he could think about was the riches that would soon be his. The next day, Obu proudly took the king's drum back to his home in the jungle. His children, who were just as greedy as he was, gathered around, eager to see the magic drum in action. Father, beat the drum, they cried. Let us see the food and wealth it will bring. Obu, swelled with pride, raised the drumstick and struck the drum with all his might. But instead of the food and riches he had imagined, something very different happened. Out of the drum emerged a group of fierce spirits, each holding a long stick, thick cane. Without warning, they began to whip Obu and his children mercilessly. Obu tried to run, but the spirits were too fast. They beat him and his children until they were bruised and battered. Stop! Stop! Obu cried, but the spirits did not listen. Only when the drum was taken away did they finally disappear, leaving Obu and his family in pain and terror. Obu was devastated. He had thought the drum would bring him riches and power, but instead, it had brought only pain and suffering. He realized too late that the king's warning had been true. The juju that bound the drum was too powerful to be broken by someone as greedy as he was. But the curse did not end there. Each time Obu or his children tried to play the drum, the spirits would return, whipping them without mercy. The once proud and cunning tortoise was now a prisoner of his own greed, unable to enjoy the riches he had so desperately desired. Word of Obu's misfortune soon spread throughout the jungle. The other animals who had once feared and envied him now pitied him. They watched as Obu and his family, beaten and humiliated, fled from their home, seeking refuge wherever they could find it. At last, Obu and his family found a place to hide. A prickly tai-tai palm deep in the jungle. The tree's sharp thorns offered them some protection from the spirits, but life under the prickly tree was hard. There was little food, and the tortoise had to be constantly on guard, lest the spirits return. As the days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, Obu began to reflect on his actions. He realized that his greed had not only brought suffering to himself, but also to his children.